Talk Broncos. It's a Monday edition, which means it's time for a mailbag episode. Guys, I got to ask you though, first, we've had a very long week. Are you recovered from your Denver Nuggets hangover?
The answer simply, Bree, is not at all. I am not over this Nuggets. It won't be until like maybe, and I'm really thinking right now. So it's going to be until the 2025-2026 season until I'm like, all right, let's get something new. I'm living off this Nuggets win right now. I really am. I'm living off of it. I'm still consuming all the Nuggets content I possibly can. I mean, if there's a video of Jokic out there, I've seen it. I'm gonna be honest. I've seen that video of Jokic. If there's one on Twitter, I saw him go to the horse race. I saw him at the club in Vegas dancing. The Soldier Boy crank that. I thought that was hilarious. Jeff Green trying to teach him how to dance. All of it. I'm consuming every bit of Nuggets content I possibly can. So no, not at all. I'm not over it. I don't think I will. I'll be 27 by the time I'm over it.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I won't be over it for a long time. Like I'm over the alcohol hangover and all that, but
Good for you.
I am inebriated by the Nuggets and will be for a long time. This team is incredible. I think it's the best Denver sports team that has been there. Like this iteration of the Nuggets
Has ever existed?
during my time alive.
Yeah.
Because it'd be them, the 2015 Broncos, or last year's Avs. Last year's Avs were also pretty sweet. But the Broncos, like they won it all. That was the most fun experience for me as a fan growing up as a Broncos fan and finally seeing my team win one. And it was the first one, so it was the sweetest. But I think like in terms of just dominating and possibly being a dynasty, the other two stand alone. But I'm excited about that and ready for the Broncos to start building with Sean Payton to hopefully get there.
Well, to answer my own question, I don't think I'm over it. I don't think I'm ever going to be over it, but we do have to eventually talk some Broncos. That's what we're here to do. You can see we're live at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to ask your questions, can't do it over on Twitter. Got to jump on over to the Mile High Sports YouTube or Facebook page so you can ask your questions live to us. We'd love to answer as many as we can get to tonight. So please go ahead and do that. Without further ado, let's get on to it. Bree Mason, Zach Seegers, Joey Richards, because I didn't introduce us to start. But if you don't know our names already, that's on you. Let's get to our first question of the night from good friend of the show, Dr. Nicholas Manning over at the Orange and Brew podcast. Had a question, two of them, actually. Let's start with the Drew Sanders one. How much do you guys think that Drew Sanders can contribute this season? I'm going to throw it over to Joey first. Joey, hit me with it.
I think he's going to contribute a little bit. I think he's going to shock people on how good he actually is. What's up, Samuel Castro in the building? How are you doing, man? We're all happy to be back as well. But back to the Drew Sanders take. I am also I think I'm higher on Drew Sanders than about anybody that I've seen. I really like Drew Sanders. I think he's going to shock people on how good he is. I think he's going to play. I think he's definitely going to play a role. Now, he might even outplay that role in my brain. I really do think that. He might start getting more reps as the season goes along because I think he's further along than people realize. And I also think that the Broncos will end up coming to that realization as well. I think you have Josie Jewell. He's a really good football player. I think the Broncos lack what he brings, specifically that athleticism, specifically that length, all that God-gifted talent that these other guys just do not have, Drew Sanders does have. And as the season progresses, I expect him to play better and better. I think that with more snaps, Drew Sanders is going to become a better football player. So I think he will play definitely a role, and I will say maybe even outplay that role. So I'm expecting big things from Drew Sanders. If I were to put money on a rookie producing, I would say that he would be the guy that I would put my money on.
So we're not even calling Drew Sanders a sleeper here for training camp. We're calling him an instant impact player for this roster.
For me, I just really like Drew Sanders, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I mean, the draft evaluation is all super subjective. I think I'm higher on him than most. I really do. But if I go back there and look at my notes, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust my process on it. And I'm going to say Drew Sanders is a really good football player and he should play because of what I saw. So I do think that there's a chance that he outplays even just that role. Now, the low end, I still think it's a good bet because he's going to play this year. I do think that. I think that even on the low end, if he's not all the way ready to be a starting caliber linebacker, I think that he's going to be your best pass rushing linebacker. I think that he's your most athletic linebacker. I think there's scenarios where he will play no matter what.
Yeah, linebacker's a heavy contact position, and you're going to have two guys in Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton. Singleton has some regression possibility. Like throughout his career, he was, a CFL guy, and then a problem kind of for the Eagles in 2021. That's why they had no problem moving on for him, and he signed for like a deal where the Broncos could have cut him in training camp. Now the money means he's going to be starting, but there is potential for regression. And if he does, maybe they get Drew Sanders into some situational play stuff. And then Josie Jewell has missed a couple games here or there every year. I think that's kind of typical, again, of the linebacker position with the contact. I wouldn't go as far as to say like injury prone because it's not big swaths of the season or serious injury, but guys get nicked up. There'll be chances for him to start a game here or there. And then his pass rushing ability really is special. It's the stuff that excites me most with him as a prospect. I think there will absolutely be room for him as a situational player because, especially if you want like your linebackers to blitz on occasion, you can work him in. And I don't know. I think he can definitely contribute this year.
Sean Payton has made reference to Drew Sanders being that prototype sort of linebacker, obviously also getting praise from Alex Singleton. It'll be interesting to see how he fits in this season. We'll have eyes on him during training camp, and we'll be making sure that we bring all of that coverage to the Let's Talk Broncos community. I like the second question from Doc. How does Kareem Jackson fit in if Stearns wins the job outright? We've had many of conversations here, right, on Let's Talk Broncos concerning if the Broncos were going to bring Kareem Jackson back. What does that mean for Caden Stearns, who's primed and ready to be the starter here for the Denver Broncos? Guys, I want you to give it to me. Zach, how do you think he fits in?
This was a tough one. It kind of got me thinking. And I'm wondering if it's going to upset you and you're going to think I'm continuing to doubt Kareem Jackson, Bree.
Hater.
But it's kind of hard for me to see him.
I'm ready to mute you.
It's hard for me to see him at 32, 33 playing like a lot of special team snaps. And it's not an ability thing. I don't know. We don't often see like veteran players kind of hanging on to their career and just being special teamer. I think we'll see him probably in just like a sparsely used situational player and then a really nice backup where you feel, hey, if something happens to Caden Stearns, who does have a bit of an injury history himself, you can throw Kareem Jackson in there and you have an incredibly intelligent player who I think is probably a good fit for what Vance Joseph wants to do at this point in his career. Playing downhill a lot more, playing around the line of scrimmage more, probably fits him well. It's for that reason I think there's actually, the more I think about it, maybe a good chance he beats out Caden Stearns because he fits that strong safety role pretty well, and you could keep using Caden Stearns as a nickel or a dime player.
Zach, when you bring up the special teams, though, I will say I think you're highlighting what he can't and subtracting from what he can. The other special teams players, though, they're not the locker room presence that Kareem Jackson is. You can add the best special teams player in the league to this Broncos team, and he's not going to be the locker room presence that Kareem Jackson is. He can lead this team through the locker room. I really do think that. I think he demands that respect. You're bringing back a lot of the same secondary. Obviously, you're adding some people. But the starters know. These guys know who Kareem Jackson is, and they already respect him from years in the past. Kareem Jackson, I think, could retire and become a coach tomorrow from everything I've heard on this podcast. So I think there's value to keeping him on the team, whether he's playing or not. I just really, really do think that. Give him a paycheck to come back on this team because there's value there. There definitely is. Just as a culture guy, he helps build the culture of the Denver Broncos. So I'm a big fan of just keeping Kareem Jackson. I don't think that he should win the job from Stearns outright, though. I think that his role should be to be the locker room guy. I really do think that. I think Stearns should get his opportunity, and I think Kareem Jackson should serve as good depth, really good depth, maybe even, right? A guy that could start on other teams if he does come in for a 3-game stretch and play really, really solid during those 3 games. So there is big positives to keeping Kareem around. Do I think that he should beat Caden Stearns? No, I don't think that.
I think there's going to come a time where the torch needs to be passed, and they've been doing a really great job of facilitating that transition. I still have to see it. I know that there's some injury concerns still with Caden Stearns. He's been very upfront with us about how that hip was feeling. So I'm not too concerned about his ability to start this season, but I think Kareem Jackson is that continuity piece that you need going into the season with new tutelage. You have a new head coach, you have a new defensive coordinator. I think it's really important to keep Kareem Jackson exactly where he's at least for the time being, until it no longer works. If it's not serviceable anymore, then I think it's completely understandable to move on and go with Caden Stearns, because he's more than proven that he's ready for this task at hand. I just think Kareem Jackson serves it's like a trifold of importance here. So you've already talked about locker room presence, but also on the field, it's been really important with him being across from Justin Simmons, being those veterans of the pack, to continue to bring up those new players. And I think that proves positive for this season, because you've seen so much change and turnover that you don't really want to mess with that key piece of the defense. Joey, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, Bree, I totally agree with you. And just to bolster your point, you know what the biggest difference is? Because I know we both agree on the Brandon McManus point of, hey, this guy is a little bit of a vocal locker room guy. The biggest difference between these two, right, is even with the Vic Fangio, who players really didn't like, and I'm a big Vic Fangio guy, but I can definitely admit that a lot of the players did not like him. Vic Fangio is like, hey, Kareem Jackson's my favorite player I've coached. Like, he can get along with whoever. This is a big plus with him, and why you keep a Kareem Jackson around compared to why you keep a Brandon McManus around. It's a little different. You have a guy that's rolling out coaches in press conferences versus a guy that's like, nobody likes his coach, and the coach is like, yeah, you know what? This is my favorite player I've ever coached in my life. Like, I love Kareem Jackson. So it's a big thing. Kareem Jackson is the vet you want to keep around.
Vic Fangio liked about 2 players during his Broncos tenure, Kareem Jackson and Teddy Bridgewater. Bree, I'm curious, do you think Kareem Jackson, outside of, because I think we're all in agreement, it seems, premium backup, A+ locker room culture guy, do you think he could have a week-to-week situational role?
I think at the start of my question, the start of my answer was basically, until proven otherwise, I don't see any reason you wouldn't start Kareem Jackson. I think that if it's week to week, you make the adjustments necessary. And that if it becomes an issue where we saw a couple of maybe miscommunications, which happens on the defense, people get crossed up, they miss their coverage all the time. Cornerbacks and safeties alike are bound to be burned at some point. But I don't think it's going to be a one mistake and you're out sort of thing. I think it's going to be if it's comfortability sake, if Caden starts to show things during practice where you try that out and maybe he does get more snaps, then that's just how it plays out. I don't think it's going to be an immediate shift from one of them starting over the other. I do think there is still competition there. I love Caden Stearns and I love Kareem Jackson. Got a big hole in my heart, or a big spot in my heart, for all of the defensive backs. So I'd like all of them to be able to be out there on the field at once, but I don't think you can legitimately run a good defense with all of them out there. So yeah, I think it could be on a week to week, but I fully intend to see Kareem Jackson out there starting. All right. I like the conversation. It didn't get too angry. Sorry, Joey. I was just talking right over you.
No, it's fine. I was just agreeing with you. Like, yeah, I could definitely see that. I think that Kareem Jackson serves a role, to your point, on this team. Do I think that he's your every down guy? No, but can he play a role? He can definitely play a role. That's something he's proved that he can do. So, yeah, I expect Kareem Jackson to see the field, undoubtedly.
Awesome. Let's move into it. We're going to get into a long, drawn-out conversation about our favorite quarterback in Russell Wilson. Z Thompson over on Twitter asks, are we going to be chanting "Let's ride" or "Let's slide"? I think she's obviously, and I don't know, I don't want to speak for Z. Z, if you're listening, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Russell Wilson posting that workout video of his plyometric dynamic side to side movement looked a little scary. It was like on a slip and slide Pilates / slick board. The guy's got moves, but I think we're going to stay away from either of those catchphrases in the future. Do you guys have a different opinion on that?
Yeah, I think we can leave that in the past. I wanted to take Z's question, but it got me thinking on, kind of the let's ride or let's slide. Like, will Russell Wilson be good or bad? What do you guys think the odds are, or the likelihood that Russ is a top 10 quarterback? What do you think the odds are that he's, somewhere in that 10 to 20 range? And what do you think the likelihood is that he's in that, 21 and up range, that disaster zone?
Okay. I think it's going to be like a 60 to 65% chance, maybe even 70. Let's go 70 just to make it clean, that he's in that 10 to that mid range, that mid tier. Middle tier. I think that's the most appropriate. I see a 0% chance of him being in top tier, top 10 quarterback. And then just because of the quarterbacks that exist right now, Zach and I had a conversation earlier during the fan cave over on Mile Sports Radio, where we were, naming off all of those quarterbacks. They're going to be hard to edge out. And I just don't think that's a legitimate possibility. And then bottom tier, I would say that it's wafting around, the remaining 30%, because there is a chance that regression is just going to keep being exponential. I will eat my crow, as I promise to always do if proven otherwise. But it's a good conversation to have, because there are expectations that need to be placed for this upcoming season. Last season, they were a little too high. I don't want to come in too low, but I can't be disappointed if I don't come in with high hopes. Joey, what about you? Where's your tier?
I totally agree with you. I think that in that 10 to 20 range, and I would lean more the bottom of that, I think that he's going to be somewhere in between that 14 and 20 range, right there. I think he's going to be middle tier to bottom middle tier quarterback. I'm going to give it a slight more increase on the top whatever quarterbacks, just out of the fact that, hey, he's lost some weight, which increases that a little bit. I think escapability was a big issue with him last year, and if he's gained even a fraction of that back, it should help. And then I also think that Sean Payton, I love Sean Payton. I've been very vocal about how much I love Sean Payton and his offense. I can't say Sean Payton's a fantastic coach and not increase that a little bit. So I'm going to give it a little bit, definitely not betting on that. I'm going 10 to 20, bottom half of that probably. So yeah, that's where I'd go. I think he's going to be more in the vein if this Broncos team looks really good. He might look like a little bit better version of a Ryan Tannehill-esque quarterback. That's where I think if the Broncos succeed, that's where Russell Wilson will be, right there. I think they're going to rely on the run. They're going to work off of that run, and he's going to hopefully, in a Sean Payton's perfect world, be able to make easy reads off of that run. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about how, Sean Payton's offense with Drew Brees was a lot of quick game, a lot of stuff over the middle, kind of the antithesis of what you'd want to do with Russ. I'm not worried about that. Sean Payton is a very smart offensive mind. I think he's very clear on Russ's limitations and is going to play to Russ's strengths and is going to maximize him. So to Joey's point, that'll help. We'll see a little better mobility, though I think it's still declined from when he was an elite quarterback. So I think that makes it hard for him to get there. Plus, it's just limitations with reading certain parts of the field, operating quick game. Like, I don't think those are magically going to develop. And with the decreased athleticism, it's going to be hard for him to become elite again, like in that top 10 range. That plus, I think we've got like an ironclad top 8, maybe 9, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't just drop off a cliff due to age this year. But the top 8 is Rodgers is the 9th. Top 8, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lamar, Trevor Lawrence, Dak, Hurts. Like, he's not catching any of those 8 guys. It's so hard for me to imagine that. Now, I think he's definitely going to be better than Baker and Colt McCoy. But doing this exercise, I realized there's like a huge just chunk of mediocre in the middle of the quarterback tiers. You've got
that's why it was so hard to fit the carousel in the league, is because there wasn't anybody to fill the mid.
Exactly, because everyone's just kind of like murking around. You've got like these young guys who I think are unknown commodities. Like, I'd put even like Fields and Daniel Jones, I'd put in that clump because like they could get better, but I don't think they're quite there yet. Watson was like as bad as Zach Wilson last year in terms of analytics, but it's like, will he return to form? Was that just rust? Or I'm hoping he's just a bad quarterback forever, but like how likely is that? So I think he's kind of in that, I don't know, middle. Tua, we saw some really high-end stuff last year. I think it's kind of a product of system, and you got the concussion concerns, unfortunately. Stafford's a mystery, I think, in that tier. Cousins and Carr, I think we know what they are, but they're kind of just locked into that upper crust of mid. All the rookies, we don't know what they are. We don't know what Ritter, Howell, Love, or Pickett are, really, in my opinion. We don't know who San Francisco's quarterback even is. I think they're somewhere in that middle group. So I ultimately think he could fall anywhere in this range of 10 to 29. And I think it's much more likely he's in that 11 to 20 section. I think it would take a lot of things breaking right for like every other team in the league if he's still kind of outside the top 20, though it is possible, but somewhere in that 10 to 20 range.
I quickly just want to throw out there, if you guys are commenting on Twitter, because I'm in the Twitter chat right now, make sure you guys are going over to the YouTube so we can make sure and see them. I'm not always in there. It doesn't transfer over. So if you guys are commenting on Twitter, make sure you're going over to Mile High Sports YouTube and commenting. I want to add on to this, though, and say, guys, I think this is the best version of Russell Wilson. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think he needs to be what Aaron Gordon came over to the Nuggets to be. I think he needs to fill a role, right? Russell, and this is the correlation I'm making. Aaron Gordon once, fantastic. He was looked up as the first option for that Orlando Magic team. He was I think the 4th pick in the NBA draft. Obviously had those expectations to be the number 1 option on a team. Came over to the Nuggets, rather just fit a role, and he was a star in that role. I think that's kind of what Russell Wilson has to do. He can't be Superman anymore. I think those days are done. Fit into a role. Sean Payton will put you in good positions to be productive. So just do that. That's my take.
You're over here comparing Russell Wilson to my favorite Denver Nugget, the Aaron Gordon. Like I just
fit a role. I love Aaron Gordon too.
All right. We're going to go to the next question. And Joey, thanks for calling that out over there. I'm going to stream the streamer right there, but I also dropped the link down in the tweet. So if you're already in the stream, just click on down below, jump on over, ask some more questions while we're here because we've got the time. D-Bronx asked over in our Discord. If you're not in the Let's Talk Broncos Discord, jump on over there where you can talk Broncos 24/7 with like-minded fans just like you. We're not all talking about the same sort of thing, though. So you can hop on over, have a conversation or a debate with your closest Broncos buddies. He asked, if Russ looks like the Russ of last year, how many games until we see Stidham? That's an interesting question. That's not a week-to-week thing. I'm going to say, and I've been thinking about this question because you would think that Sean Payton coming in as the new Broncos head coach really can't afford to bench that sort of capital at all this season, even if it were to get as bad as it was last season. He hasn't been able to see what Russell Wilson has been able to do. It was under a different coaching staff. It may look a little bit different, but still be a struggle. But unfortunately, I think there's enough of the stats and the production to say that if it's the same sort of thing we were seeing last season, you'd have to make that decision fairly quickly in the season if you were going to switch your quarterback and have any chance of having contention into either a winning season or playoffs, which I don't know if you're doing that with Jarrett Stidham. Nothing personal. It's just you're changing a lot of what the offense and what you're hoping to do there. So if they start in one direction with Russell Wilson, it doesn't work out, that's going to be a headache in itself. I don't know, half a season. Let's say 6 games.
Yeah, I don't mind 6 games. I was going to say 5 games where I kind of, so this is, it depends on wins and losses. I will say that because if the Broncos are winning, but Russell Wilson doesn't look good, which low probability, right? Your quarterback usually has to play good for your team to win. But it's hard to bench your quarterback off of wins. So if the Russell Wilson is struggling, but they still somehow end up 4-1, my take will be completely off. But I do think, though, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton's not going to be playing around. This is not a guy that plays around. This is his football team right now. I think he knows it's his football team. You know, we can talk about the capital that we traded for Russell Wilson, we gave up a first-round pick for a head coach. That's something that doesn't happen very often, like at all. So Sean Payton knows this is his football team. If he wants to bench Russell Wilson, he's going to bench Russell Wilson. So I'm going to set it. If Russ looked really bad like he did last year, I'd set it at 5 games. That would be where I'd set my bar at.
I could see 5. The ones I'm circling would be after 6 and after 8. And I think, Sean Payton will not be playing around. I could see him doing it after a win, even just because I think. Now I agree, it's way easier after a loss. But I think if Sean Payton's like, this guy's not running the offense the way I want it to be run. Sean Payton is like a details-oriented, strict person. And so it wouldn't surprise me if like the details aren't there, but and he's been a head coach for a long time. I think he can understand that like process and results won't overlap and still be and still harp on the process. But the 2 I would circle is honestly after the 2 Chief games, week 6 and week 8. If the Broncos aren't doing well after week 6, it's a Thursday night game in Kansas City. Arrowhead short week, that one could look ugly. And then you have a long week to kind of lick your wounds, install the new quarterback. I think if it's like as bad as last year, we could see that. If it's just minor improvement, but still pretty bad, and Russ just looks over the hill and washed. Also look at week 8. That's the game right before the bye. Also against Kansas City. If you get walloped by Kansas City twice in 3 weeks, one of those games in prime time, I think you'll see the hook.
Guys, I'm already rock bottom. I can't get any lower. If we do back-to-back losses to the Chiefs, 6 and 8, I just think I'm going to carry on business as usual. But I would be happy to wager Russell Wilson doesn't get benched this season.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
Hey, you know what, Bree? Save that for our wager show that I think we're going to do at one of these points.
Yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be a good one to have. We should do something in the Discord as well with the wagers. I don't know.
I think we should. I think we should keep track of them and don't let Zach count preseason like he did.
Because I would be the winner.
Okay, so we're not counting preseason now.
No, it's literally the preseason, you know.
you count preseason wins in your win tally for the season.
Yeah, but I mean, we're just making predictions.
We're getting our reps in, Zach.
We're just getting like used to how this team's looking. Maybe we should make predictions for training camp and count those too towards our goal. For me, you know, like I start doing my research when, you know, the players are going to camp. So I'm ready for those preseason wagers. Like I don't just loaf in, show up in September. The man who just like totally disregarded the kind of impact that Greg Dulcich would have and was like, "Oh, Bree, you're so full of optimism and hope." And I was like, "Just watch." And then you were like, "Oh, dang. He was on to something." And on that note, we got another question. Murderface 325 over in Discord. I love that. I believe that's Denny. Shouts out to Denny. How long do you think Sean Payton will coach the Broncos? His contract is 7.
I don't know on the contract. He's 59 years old though.
Yeah.
So plenty of time for that.
Like 92. Age doesn't bother me. I think there's a good chance he finishes out his contract, but I need to confirm how long I think that actually is.
You know,
5 years in the neighborhood of 18 mil a year, Peter King says. Pretty sweet, 90 mil.
5 years.
As long as I think he'll be the coach for 5 years at minimum. That's my take.
I think so too.
Yeah. You traded up a first for him. He's not getting he will have to have 3 disaster seasons in a row, I think, for them to cut with him, to get rid of him. I think that it's going to be a long process. I don't think.
But you think they don't run it back at all? It doesn't go longer than 5?
No, it could definitely go longer. As minimum is 5, in my opinion.
I'd put the over-under around 5. I think this thing probably works out. My thing would be like, does he get tired of it? Does it go really bad and he just is like, I don't want to hang around for this garbage fire? Or does it like go really well? They win a Super Bowl quickly and he's like, I want to retire and hang out. I'd say the former is probably more likely, but I think it will be a while before they consider firing him, just because one, either things go well with Russ, and then obviously you're not firing him. This guy saved Russell Wilson. Let's ride. Or it goes terribly with Russ. You cut him and you let Sean Payton oversee your rebuild and like the development of a new young quarterback. So you're going to give him time to do that, especially because moving on from Russ will put the Broncos in a tricky financial situation. As Joey highlighted, the investment in Sean Payton. So it won't be an immediate rebuild. One, you've also invested a ton in him. You'll give him the runway to see that through. And hey, Chris, how's it going?
I got distracted like I normally do because I was doing the Twitter thing over there. Yeah, I think minimum 5 years. Do I see it going so remarkably well that there's an extension to that? I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. I'm not into making any 5-year plus plans. I'll be too old to really care about it. So
I'm feeling extra positive, Bree, Zach,
wow,
off this Nuggets win right now. I think Sean Payton will get an extension after this, and I think it'll be amazing. I think by year 5, the Broncos will definitely. I think they'll look good. I think that under Sean Payton's vision, it's hard for me to imagine the Broncos just like not looking like they don't have a future by year 5 in this thing. I think he will get an extension at that point. Now, to Zach's point, only way I will point out, if Sean Payton just is like, yo, I don't feel like this anymore. That's one that I could see. I could definitely see that. It's kind of like Jokic. I could kind of see him being like, yeah, you know what? This whole thing was fun. I accomplished what I needed.
One's good.
I'm up out of here. Hey, I could see that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's slide.
Yeah, let's slide. Somebody has to say it, as all I'm saying. Ooh, I asked a question. Who do you think has the most pressure on them for this upcoming season? Is it Sean Payton? Is it Russell Wilson? Is it somebody completely else? I think there's a running tie between Coach Vance Joseph and Russell Wilson, because I think they're both going to have to independently show a lot this season in order to gain back a little bit of positive vibes. Now, I don't even think Vance Joseph has to do that much. I think a lot of Broncos country got out their frustrations when the hire was made, and they no longer have a whole lot of unpositive. They don't have a whole lot of negative emotions heading in that direction. There is a whole section of Broncos country that I've seen on Twitter that has never had a problem with Russell Wilson. So I think that it balances itself out. I'm going to go Russell Wilson having the most pressure, because I think there's just something that he really needs to prove this season, and everyone else is kind of a cornerstone piece to that puzzle to try to elevate him to the best of his abilities. If he can't succeed in this environment, it's time to move on to a quarterback who can be successful drinking tap water, like a Brock Purdy, or I don't know, something else.
I love the Vance Joseph pick. It was one I honestly overlooked. To me, I was just like Russell Wilson. But I do think like Vance Joseph, to me, I almost think is like a no-win, because Ejiro Evero did such an amazing job with that defense last year. I think it might have gone underrated. Like Evero was probably a top 4 or 5 defensive coordinator in the league last year. What he did was so impressive to me. And so I do think that's part of the reason it maintained after Vic Fangio. I think with a lot of other coaches, it would have been hard to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a fair dip with Vance Joseph. But even if he keeps the defense like okay, it'll be a dip from what it was with Ejiro Evero. He could be doing a good job and still have fans breathing down his neck and disappointed because it's not as good as it was under the last 2 amazing, unreal defensive coordinators.
Zach, do you want a hot take, bro? Just adding on to this, my hot take, and hey,
but I think it's Russ.
This is my hot take right now. Going off your Vance Joseph point, going off Bree's Vance Joseph point, I think that Christian Parker will be the defensive coordinator next year. If I were to throw out a hot take right now, that's my take. I don't think Vance Joseph is going to live past a year here. I
don't know if they'll do it, but I wish they would.
I don't know if it'll be his fault, but if there is a guy that is set up to be the scapegoat of the Denver Broncos this next year, let me tell you, it is Vance Joseph. He's already on an uphill battle trying to win the fans over after his tenure as a head coach. if that defense underperforms at all or goes dips whatsoever, and it will, I
If
do
it's in the
think that there's
20s, he's
better
in
than not
trouble.
chance that it will dip.
Even if the offense
People are
isn't
gonna be on
scoring
his
any
head.
points, the defense is at fault.
If it's the 21st defense in the NFL next year, people are going to be pretty furious.
They're going to be wanting somebody, and the Broncos are going to have to make a decision on somebody.
I like Christian Parker. I have no problems with it.
I don't know. I hope you're right, frankly, because I think Christian Parker is going to be an unreal defensive coordinator, and I was hoping the Broncos would have given him the job this offseason. I think I'd bet against it. That'd be a fun one to throw out in our wager show because I think I'd take you up on it. But I hope you're right.
We'll do a pre-season prediction show for season wide, which we normally do. That kind of gives a rundown of what may happen this season, and then we'll also do our weekly predictions as well. But the preseason ones are going to be really interesting because a lot could happen this year. This year feels so much in contrast to the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche having destined runs. We have no idea what this Denver Broncos team is. And it's a little, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to clarify. I do think Russ has the most pressure on him because we talked about the Vance Joseph angle at all. And I think that's a great pick, but I would side with you, Bree, and say, I think it's Russ. Like at the DNVR bar for the Nuggets game, like they showed Russ there courtside for the game, and there were audible boos in the bar atmosphere. I think there's a palpable like distaste for Russell Wilson in Denver. I think there's a lot of people who still have his back 100%, but the fan base wants to see him start to, I don't know, play up to that contract, or at least not be a huge problem for the Broncos. And I think right now a lot of like Hackett was the scapegoat last year, where if things are still bad this year, it's like you can't blame Sean Payton because Sean Payton knows what he's doing on offense. If things are bad on offense this year, like it's going to look like the old black and white Frankenstein movie. Like the torches are going to be out, the pitchforks are going to be out. It's going to be an angry mob situation.
I gotta ask you guys because this comes up. I've heard booing at plenty of games. I know that people love to then go to social media and tell people how to fan, which I'm not a fan of doing. If you're gonna boo, you're gonna boo. You've paid money to see these athletes. It's a game at the end of the day, but it can also be fairly frustrating as a fan as well. What is your take on booing, specifically out of context? You've got a man who's attending a game that he doesn't even play, and he's being booed. That's interesting to me. I don't know if I don't think I would. I don't think I would boo. Maybe I did. I don't know. I can't remember.
I think you were one of the louder booers.
Damn, was Bree Macy just exposed on the podcast?
I think
there's
generally
no
when you
photographic
boo,
evidence of this.
Pictures that it didn't happen.
I'm with you. I think booing's not the nicest, but I also understand it for Denver fans. Like they've invested a lot of emotional energy, and also in the terms of like tickets to go to games are expensive, and like jerseys are crazy expensive. And how many Russell Wilson jerseys have we all seen out there? Like I think fans are emotionally and financially invested in the Broncos and Russell Wilson panning out, and they are mad with the product they got last year. Like it wasn't just bad, but it was physically painful to watch, like bad, just awful, gut-wrenching football. And I don't think you should boo pro athletes. I don't think it's good, but I also understand like the emotions of the fan just being like, I am so frustrated with this. Like I can't stand seeing this person on my screen right now.
Listen, I don't care if you boo or not. It's part of the fan experience, guys. I don't care. Like it is what it is. They like, hey, these people are going to feel something towards the player. You had like these crazy big fans of Drew Lock. You also had these people that didn't like Drew Lock at all. You have people that love LeBron James. You have people that don't. It's part of sports. Just deal with it. If someone is booing, why does that have to change your opinion? You can still really like the player. It doesn't have to change the player. And if you're right, the player will end up proving them wrong, right? It's just all part of the fan experience. You're allowed to boo if you want to boo. If you don't like the player, you don't like the player. If you like the player, you love the player. It is what it is. I don't care. I think that fans should be allowed to boo. I think they should be allowed to cheer as loud as they want. I think all of it. It's why we have a podcast and there's viewers. Fans get so emotionally attached to this stuff. It represents the city. It represents everything. It's why I was at the Nuggets parade. It was why, we hate the national media when the Nuggets are being covered, is because we feel very strong about these players, and that could go positive or negative.
I love it. Nailed it. Absolutely. Now we're on to the lightning round. Now, let me ask you guys, do you guys understand what a lightning round is?
Fast.
All right, let's
lightning
go.
Quick. Lightning quick. Look at that new graphic. Whoa.
Ooh. Do we have a thunder noise?
No, I forgot to do that during my pre-show prep, but next time we will.
No, we got to play Wolverine Blood.
Podcast is ruined. Oh, damn. Oh. Hey guys.
Okay, well, that didn't play
good show up until this point.
Did you just make an audible, mouthy thunder noise into the microphone?
I think that was actual thunder. I think a storm came rolling through.
God, it's terrible. All right, Kathy, ask your question. Who's going to be running back 3? Considering that Williams will be back at some point in the season, and Pirine being running back 2 during that time span, what do we got? Running back 1, running back 2. So what are we seeing for 3? Who do we think is 3?
Cook's going to be the popular name, but I don't see that one coming to fruition. I'm still watching Leonard Fournette or Zeke Elliott. Those guys haven't signed with teams yet. That's a chance. And then watch the cut market in August. That's I think the most likely candidate. I don't know who will get cut, but some team will cut someone. Like the Jets have a really crowded backfield, and I bet the Broncos scoop someone up off the waiver market.
I like Fournette. I like where you're going. Joey, go.
I think that Dalvin Cook's going to be wanting too much. And even if it comes back down to reality, if he comes back down to reality, Miami is the most likely option. He went to college there. He went to high school in Florida. He's a Florida legend. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up in Miami. I think Kareem Hunt is a guy that's been thrown around, rumored a lot for the Broncos, Ezekiel Elliott. But I agree with Zach. I think it'll come during the cut market. That's your most likely option. There's going to be some running backs cut.
You have Beatty on the roster. Why not lean into that, go with a little bit of Michael Burton action and call it good? Do you need to supplement even further?
No. I think that it would be preferable if they did, just because you don't know what you're getting from Javonte, and then that also leaves a question mark with Beatty. If Javonte were healthy, I'd say don't add anybody. Beatty, if he has to step up, he can step up. Show me what you got. It's just too much of a question with Javonte at the moment.
Love the Beatty pick.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, next question is Darius Wilkins asked, how many wide receivers do you think the Broncos will keep? 7?
I think 6, 7's also possible, but I think it's going to end up being Sutton, Judy, Patrick, Mims, Callaway, and Hinton. I think Hinton's just more versatile, can do more things for you. I think Hamler is one of the quote unquote like surprise cuts, one of the cuts people will be disappointed by come August.
I don't like it because I want to see Patrick, Sutton, Judy, Hamler. I want to see the core 4 together and healthy once and for all. So I'm not even going to lean into that. Joey.
Yeah, I'm rolling with 6, and who gets cut is going to be the question mark of camp. That is a deep room. It's going to be a massive question mark of who gets cut. Like Kendall Hinton, I really like Kendall Hinton. Good chance he gets cut. I think better than not.
Joey has this tendency when he's talking to end his sentences abruptly and aggressively. And I'm like, are you going to continue talking? And
as a podcast like co-host, you should there's chemistry involved, and you should know. I'm trying to make this more into a Jamal Murray Jokic situation right now, and right now it's starting to feel more.
Yeah, Jokic at least gets the ball to Jamal Murray in these situations. He just passed directly through my legs. I wasn't even looking.
Tossed you directly under the bus.
She's calling me Will Barton. That's crazy.
Chase Wellner asks, how are we feeling about Quinn Miners to take the next step in his development, particularly in pass pro? I've never felt better about Quinn Miners because he has done everything he's needed to do in order to step up when specifically pressed in the moment of action to step into the roles that he's been given. It's not a like, hey, do you think it's a nope, I'm in there. And he's been able to take that next step. I think that the proof is in the pudding there with Quinn Miners. I think he's so adaptable and versatile that he's just going to continue to improve. Obviously, being a couple more years into his position when they finally are able to isolate him down without a whole ton of injuries on the offensive line. I'm really excited about Quinn Miners. He's been nothing but reliable for this Denver Broncos offense. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm 100% confident.
Yeah,
I'm very confident too. To me, it's very much tied to Zach Strief and what he ends up being. I think Quinn Miners is a tremendously talented player who hasn't gotten a lot of high-level football coaching in his life. And I think it's an exciting combo when you're built like Quinn Miners and you're a fast learner and you can develop, because it allows you to, reach that really high ceiling if you're coached up well. He was coached up horrendously last year. The Butch Berry stuff was a nightmare, as bad as all the Hackett era was on the coaching end. The most nightmarish stories I heard from inside that organization had to do with Butch Berry, specifically with Quinn Miners and Butch Berry's relationship. It was not good. And I think giving him a guy like Zach Strief, who was not a Hall of Fame guard, because there aren't many Hall of Fame guards, but like perennial all pro level guard, and a guy who Sean Payton has tabbed for years and years as a future great coach. I don't know. I think they're going to work wonders together, and we're going to see the best version of Quinn.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Butch Berry was the biggest addition by subtraction there were. And if Strief is worse than Butch Berry, we really have problems down here, guys. Like, is bad news, is really bad news. That means we hired the 33rd best offensive line coach in the league. That's what that means. So I'm going sky high. I think the system better fits Quinn Miners. I want him to put the weight back on. The stuff that he lost and was completely not useful at all, because we didn't do anything of the reasons why he lost the weight. It make Quinn Miners the same guard we saw him when he was coming out of the draft. I want that powerful guard back, and I think that's what Sean Payton is going to look for, and Strief and everybody involved. So I have all my eggs in that Quinn Miners basket right now. I think that he will definitely do better.
Awesome. Last thing we have on our docket for tonight is everyone's literal favorite segment for Let's Talk Broncos.
It is. It's everybody's favorite part of the show. Yet again, we're back. I think wait, what happened?
Zach let off the air horn like while I couldn't even get the carry on. I'm sorry, Joey. It's incredibly rude.
It's like
I cut her off so hard with the air horn. She was like, "It's what we have every show. It's." Sorry, everybody, for that. Joey's question of the day. Okay. Take it away.
What is your most controversial food opinion? And we're starting with Zach Seegers.
Off the top of my head, putting me on the spot. Pineapple's great on pizza. Put whatever you want on pizza. Stop living a boring life. Like, if we're going to say that's not traditional pizza, yeah, 100%. But like, I don't know. It's a canvas. Put whatever you want on it. Like, I bet you could probably make some gross stuff, and in which case you made a gross pizza. But like, pineapple's fine on pizza. There's some jalapenos on there. Be non-traditional. Throw barbecue and sauce and chicken on there. Like, who cares? Make something yummy. If it's good, it's good. Stop living your life with silly pizza rules. Your pizza rules should be boundless. Like, why are we painting ourselves into the corner on pizza? That's so stupid.
I would have to agree with everything Zach just said. I absolutely love it. Have you ever had dill pickle pizza? Because I'm a fan of anything with pickles. I really enjoy mustard. I don't understand how people don't like ranch and mayo. That's really weird to me. I think that's controversial for me, because then they're like, oh, well, aioli is not the same. It is. It's the same thing. People who cook their eggs into like hardened pieces of cardboard. That's
Okay.
a little
Yeah,
that's
that's
a little
really
rough. Yeah.
odd.
But I would say I don't really have anything controversial. One of my favorite snacks is dill pickles and like frosting, like Duncan Hines frosting.
Yeah, that's
wow.
one. That's a weird one.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
your pickle
Yeah.
and frosting thing is pretty weird.
Wow. Okay. I think both of those were very controversial. Matter of fact, I think they're offensive. Here's my strong food opinion, and I just came up with this right now. There's no such good thing. Like, there's no good seasonal candy available other than the Reese's and the Shapes. If you like candy corn, you're weird. If you're out here eating candy canes, what are we doing? Like, there's no such good thing as a
What
seasonal
about like
candy.
some of those chocolate egg deals?
I mean, just
Ugh,
eat chocolate.
the Cadbury
Why?
ones?
Like, this is
I feel like
this
there's
is
some
kind
ones
of the
that-
issue right now.
Yeah, the
is
Cadbury's
that
aren't
the
great.
chocolate in the egg has no effect. Just eat the chocolate the regular way, like a normal human being.
You were just saying that you like the Reese's Shapes, and then you're like, but not the chocolate eggs.
Those
The eggs
taste
are
different.
pushing it.
They taste different,
The Shapes are the best
and the
kind.
people will agree with me on that. If you
No,
ever
you're
have had a
100%.
Reese's egg, way different than the regular Reese's.
I don't know what this show is sometimes. Cal wanted us to rate the bear.
I don't know what that means. The
You've
Bears,
never
Chicago
seen the
Bears.
bear?
Chicago
Yeah, the
Bears, very
Chicago
good.
Bears.
Love DJ Moore. Probably like my second favorite team on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Joey. Bears are a good team. I haven't seen the show yet, so I can't comment. That's on my list.
The show's really good. I think you should before season 2 comes out. That'll about do it for Let's Talk Broncos. You can catch me over on Mile High Sports Radio Monday 1 to 2 p.m. with Zach Seegers. We do an everything sports. We used to do just Broncos, and now we talk all of the NBA, the Denver Nuggets, a little bit of Avalanche when we get some time, and obviously the Colorado Buffaloes. You can check out our recent episode over on my Twitter, Bremaesters303. Joey, where can everybody find your work?
At JR Drafts. Follow me on Twitter. And then also make sure you're subscribing to Let's Talk Broncos on YouTube. That's all I got for you guys.
I think what do I have to promote? The Let's Talk Broncos YouTube that Joey said. My bus riding over at milehighsports.com. Check that out. Cody Williams, man, CU athletics is awesome. If you're living in Colorado, whether or not you went to CU, and you want good college sports in the state, you're going to have it this year. The women's basketball team is amazing. The men's basketball team is amazing. And the football team probably won't be amazing this year, but they'll be very exciting at least. And they're taking steps towards being amazing. So follow all of that over at milehighsports.com, where I'll have you covered.
Alrighty, we'll be back for another episode on Wednesday, and we'll talk to y'all later. Go follow us. Let's Talk Broncos, the LTB podcast over on Twitter, and we'll chat with y'all soon. Thanks.